Since the dawn of time, humans have possessed 6 senses: sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch, and intuition. Purification severs the ties of evil and opens a world of boundless light. And that is all it takes to be reborn. The film opens with a gathering of the 12 Shinsho and Princess Kikiri, convened to select a new princess after 60 years. All 12 Shinsho swear an oath of loyalty and vow to protect the new princess. The scene shifts to Arata, the male protagonist of the film. Arata is lost in thought in his room when his younger sister comes up to call him down for breakfast. He heads downstairs and meets his mother. According to his sister, Arata is a very kind-hearted and righteous person. Yet despite his good nature, fortune never seems to smile on him. On his way to school, Arata runs into his best friend, Suguru. Being the generous person he is, Arata lends Suguru the latest gaming console. Arata hopes his school life will become more peaceful, but it does not. While Arata is running laps on the school grounds, a group of boys stalks him from the shadows. They later corner him and threaten him, suggesting he has been a victim of bullying for some time. Even Arata's best friend Suguru talks behind his back, saying he is sick and tired of Arata, even insisting that they were never friends to begin with. This hits Arata like a bucket of ice water. Elsewhere, another boy who also goes by the name Arata is defying his grandmother and trying to run away, only for her to unleash a powerful strike that sends him tumbling off a cliff. Arata's grandmother wants him to live as a girl, under the identity of a daughter of the Heim clan. He will have to undergo a ritual held once every 30 years and become the princess of this nation. Girls from the Unemi clan also come over and offer to help him with his disguise. According to Arata's grandmother, only a daughter of the Heim clan, one who possesses Amatsuruki, can become the ruler of Amawakuni. But since Arata is a boy, he cannot wield Amatsuruki, and if his secret is exposed, he will surely be killed. Despite their best efforts over the years, his clan has been unable to produce a female heir. The reason his grandmother forces him to pose as a girl is that a decree has been issued stating that if they fail to present a daughter, the entire Heim clan will be purged for the crime of treason. And so she needs Arata to protect the clan and safeguard the Hayagami, the divine Goshintai passed down from their ancestors. Arata does not believe any of it, so he picks up the sword and declares it is nothing but a rotting relic. His grandmother scolds him for disrespecting the gods, then suffers a heart attack. With soldiers already on their way, Arata has no choice but to disguise himself as a girl for the 3 days of the ritual. Princess Kikiri has been growing frail after ruling for 60 years, all because the Heim clan failed to produce a daughter for 30 years to succeed her, which means the fate of the nation now rests on this ceremony. Even so, Arata doubts he can fool the princess and the 12 Shinsho. Seeing his worry, Kadoha removes the protective charm she once received from Princess Kikiri and gives it to Arata. He accepts it and steals his resolve to save his clan. At last, the day of the ritual arrives, the first in 30 years, the dawning of a new princess. Arata tells Kadoha to return to the village as quickly as possible and lead the villagers somewhere far away, while he will try to buy time over the 3 days. Arata is then granted an audience with the princess. He is quite surprised to find that although she is very old in age, her appearance is that of a small child. The princess reassures Arata, telling him that she too was anxious just like him long ago. But everything turned out fine. She then steps forward and places her hand on Arata's forehead. While the ritual is underway, one of the Shinsho suddenly charges forward and delivers a fatal slash, killing Princess Kikiri on the spot. This Shinsho then exposes Arata as a boy. He does not know the reason behind the disguise, but declares that by tomorrow, Arata will die here. Arata cries out to the other Shinsho, demanding to know why none of them react to the princess being struck down. This is a coup staged by the 12 Shinsho. Realizing the situation is dire, Arata leaps into the water below to escape. The ritual flame is extinguished, sending the people into a panic. The white-haired Shinsho named Kanagi steps outside and announces to everyone that Arata is actually a man disguised as a woman who also assassinated the princess. He orders his soldiers to hunt down this traitor by any means necessary and execute him. While fleeing, Arata bumps into some civilians who see him in his true form as a man. The soldiers then report that Arata is heading toward the Kando forest. Back with the short-haired Arata, he has lost all faith in the world. All he wishes now is to vanish from existence. At that very moment, something suddenly hurtles toward both Aratas, and the two of them swap places. When the short-haired Arata wakes up, he finds himself in a forest. Suddenly, an arrow flies toward him. It is Kanagi, who has caught up. Kanagi gives the short-haired Arata a choice: be swallowed by the forest or die by his hand. But the short-haired Arata has no idea what is happening. The Shinsho assumes the forest has consumed him. The short-haired Arata then flees deeper into the forest. Hiding up in a tree and completely bewildered, he is suddenly teleported elsewhere. It turns out to be Kadoha, who rushes over and throws her arms around Arata. She then drags him away because the pursuers are closing in. Another Shinsho named Akachi has also arrived. He criticizes Kanagi, saying he could have easily taken Arata down if he had used his Hayagami. But Kanagi dismisses it, claiming there is no need to waste effort on mere rats, and that he will capture Arata soon enough. The next day, Arata reaches the home of the long-haired Arata's grandmother. Kadoha tells the grandmother about the princess's assassination, that Arata is now the prime suspect and is being hunted, and that he had to flee into the Kando forest. According to the grandmother, there is a legend about the Kando forest. Those who are swallowed by the forest return as someone else, swapped with another. She also tells him that he cannot go back and must live as the Arata of this world. Arata is furious because he does not want to become a wanted criminal hunted to death. At that moment, Kanagi and his men arrive at the grandmother's house. The grandmother and Kadoha refuse to reveal any information about Arata. Arata covers his head and blocks his ears, telling himself this has nothing to do with him. But when he hears Kadoha's agonized screams, he knows he has to do something. Just as Kadoha is about to be killed, Arata bursts up from the cellar. A soldier charges at him with a blade, but Arata grabs the Hayagami sword just in time and blocks the strike. Arata is filled with rage toward these people because they are just like those who betrayed him. Arata's willpower causes the sword in his hand to react. Kanagi notices this immediately and uses his own Hayagami to attack Arata. Guided by Arata's grandmother, Arata successfully summons the sword's power and blocks the flames from Kanagi. Realizing the strength Arata possesses, Kanagi withdraws his fire. The burning house begins to collapse, forcing the soldiers to retreat. Meanwhile, the long-haired Arata finds himself in utter confusion about what is happening. Shirtless and sitting in the middle of a street, he is surrounded by a crowd who mistake him for an actor. By coincidence, the short-haired Arata's mother and sister are out searching for him and happen to spot the boy. Back on the other side, the soldiers frantically search for the short-haired Arata among the rubble. But Arata has already seized the chance to escape with the grandmother and Kadoha into an underground shelter. The long-haired Arata's grandmother explains that the sword is a Gashintai passed down through many generations, also known as a Hayagami. Every god in Amawakuni exists in the form of a sword, and the blade Kanagi wields is one of them, the god of fire. As for the short-haired Arata being able to use the sword, it is likely because he has been chosen as a sho, a bearer of divine power. Just then, Kadoha brings Arata a plate of food, saying it is his favorite dish, and maybe eating it will help him recover the memories he lost in the Kando forest. Arata notices that Kadoha looks at him the same way she looks at the long-haired Arata, even though the two of them are completely different people. The short-haired Arata recalls what the grandmother said. The one chosen by the Hayagami is not her granddaughter, but him, a stranger from another world. Elsewhere, Akachi meets with Kanagi and demands that he capture Arata alive and put him on trial before the people, to remind the citizens of the authority of the 12 Shinsho. The short-haired Arata sits reflecting on his life. He is just a student. He should be going to school and hanging out with friends. But when he remembers how his best friend Suguru betrayed him, the pain returns. Just then, Kadoha comes over and sits down beside Arata. She encourages him to just be himself, and his memories will come back in time. But Arata insists that he is Hinohara Arata, someone from another world. Kadoha does not seem to believe it. She embraces him from behind and promises she will always stay by his side and believe in him. Kadoha notices that the necklace she gave Arata has disappeared, so she takes off the one around her own neck and gives it to him instead. Suddenly, Kanagi appears. He has taken Arata's grandmother hostage and demands that Arata draw the Hayagami for a duel. Seeing that Arata does not have the Hayagami on him, Kanagi orders his soldiers to bind him. While being escorted away, the necklace around the short-haired Arata's neck suddenly begins to glow. It opens into a mirror, and on the other side stands the long-haired Arata. The two Aratas are stunned to see each other. The short-haired Arata demands to know why the long-haired one killed the princess, but he swears he did not do it. The true killer is Kanagi, and the rest of the Shinsho simply stood by and watched. The short-haired Arata is somewhat skeptical of his counterpart's words. The long-haired Arata realizes how confusing it is that they share the same name. So to keep things simple, the long-haired one will go by Arata, while the short-haired one will be called Hinohara. Arata asks about the grandmother and Kadoha. Hinohara tells him they are safe because someone is protecting them. Arata apologizes to Hinohara for all of this and promises to find a way to return them both to normal. Hinohara also tells Arata about being chosen as a show and the awakening of the Hayagami. Arata is quite excited, because if that is the case, Hinohara can fight back against them. Suddenly, the mirror begins to shrink. It turns out Hinohara's mother is coming up to his room. Hinohara tries to call out to her, but before he can, the mirror closes entirely, leaving him to sink to his knees in helpless despair. The next day, Hinohara is brought before the tribunal. Kannagi begins to read out Hinohara's charges in a booming voice, deliberately disguising himself as a woman to usurp the throne, attempting to take the princess's life, abusing the authority of the Haim clan to carry out the assassination. Kannagi then shows the people the princess's current state. She used the last of her Amatsuraki to cling to life and is still fighting between life and death. Seeing this, the crowd unanimously calls for Hinohara's execution. Kannagi shamelessly declares that the 12 Shinsho were present and witnessed everything, and that they are deeply pained for not recognizing the danger and intervening in time. Hinohara realizes that no matter what world he is in, trust is always met with betrayal. Hinohara looks up at Kannagi and declares that he is the one who actually killed the princess. Hinohara vows he will never forgive cowards like the 12 Shinsho, calling them all nothing but despicable traitors who never once considered the princess's feelings. He asks them whether they know how heartbroken the princess was when those she trusted turned against her. Hinohara proclaims they have no right to wield the gods, that they are nothing more than a band of treacherous rebels. Okachi hurls his spear right in front of Hinohara's face, accusing him of trying to shift blame onto the 12 Shinsho to escape his own crimes. The other Shinsho rally behind Akachi and Kannagi, whipping the crowd into an even greater fury. The scene reminds Hinohara of how he was shunned by society back in his own world. Kannagi then pronounces Hinohara's sentence. He will be exiled to Gatoya, a place known as Hell on Earth. Normally, the crime of assassinating the princess would warrant the guillotine, but they do not want him to die so easily, so they are sending him to this living hell instead. In truth, the reason they keep Hinohara alive is that they want to investigate what his Hayagami really is. While Hinohara sits in his cell, a soldier suddenly brings Kadoha in. It seems she tried to come see him and got herself arrested as well. As it turns out, Kadoha has secretly brought along Hinohara's bag and the Hayagami. The Hayagami is a useless relic unless it is in the hands of a show. Hinohara is relieved, because with this in hand, they might be able to escape. Hinohara stands up and chants the incantation, "Appear," but nothing happens. Just as Hinohara sinks into despair, the necklace around his neck suddenly begins to glow. Hinohara and Kadoha are transported into the princess's consciousness. The princess wants Hinohara, her new Shinsho, to hear her final wish. The princess wants Hinohara, her new Shinsho, to hear her heartfelt wish. She heard his words at the trial and was deeply moved. The princess realizes that Hinohara's heart will light the way forward. She explains that until now, she has used her Amatsuraki to hold the Hayagami together and keep their Kamui under control. But now that the princess has fallen, the Hayagami have been set free. She warns that if a show wields a Hayagami recklessly, its power will consume the world, twist justice, and plunge all living things into suffering. The princess does not know why she still exists, nor how much time she has left. That is why she asks Hinohara to rule Amawakuni in her place and bring his Hayagami to her before her life comes to an end, because he is now the only person she can trust. Hinohara also learns that Sho can store Hayagami within their own bodies. Finding it rather fascinating, he tries pulling it out and putting it back in a few times. Just then, Kadoha calls out to him and says she can see the island. This place is Gatoya prison, and it looks absolutely terrifying. Hinohara feels as though he has seen it somewhere before. As he is escorted inside, Hinohara is met with endless whispers accusing him of being the one who killed the princess. Out of nowhere, two kids appear, one with white hair and one with red. The two brats plan to haze the newcomer and demand Hinohara hand over all his clothes and belongings. Hinohara refuses, so the red-haired kid charges at him, slashing wildly. While dodging, Hinohara accidentally gets his hand grazed by the other kid's spear. Suddenly, a bell rings out and the entire building begins to shake violently. It turns out this is the hour of reckoning. The inmates scramble in every direction, and those who are not fast enough are swallowed whole by the pipes. Hinohara has no idea what is happening when a beautiful woman approaches him. She explains that it is Warden Tsutsuga. Every day, he selects 2 prisoners and devours them, and those who are eaten naturally die. After saying this, the woman plucks the hairpin from Kadoha's head as payment for the information and walks away. Meanwhile, Kanagi still has not found any information about Hinohara's sword or its kamui. Akachi does not know what Kanagi is planning, but warns him not to act too far on his own. Hinohara is still struggling to unleash the sword's power without success. Suddenly, Kadoha runs over excitedly and says she has found a wonderful spot. It turns out to be a place with warm water for bathing. Kadoha can use healing magic, so she tends to the wound on Hinohara's hand. On top of that, she uses a spell to calm his mind and put him at ease. Hinohara feels much better after his bath and is about to thank Kadoha when the building suddenly shakes violently again. The ground beneath them cracks open and Kadoha falls through. Hinohara rushes off to find her, but no one he asks knows anything. To make matters worse, a group of prisoners wants to take his head as a ticket out of this place, forcing him to temporarily hide in a corner. Hinohara feels utterly useless for not being able to do anything to save Kadoha. Suddenly, a voice speaks out and a shadowy figure appears. The figure also knows that Hinohara is a show and asks why a show would be crying, questioning whether he intends to betray the people who believed in him. Having said that, the shadow vanishes. At that moment, the woman from earlier also appears and introduces herself as Osum. Osum says she has information about Kadoha, so Hinohara hands over his bag as payment. Osum tells him she saw the red-haired kid named Isekai'd kidnap a girl who looks like Kadoha. She adds that the boy is no good and urges him to hurry. This time, Osum offers the tip for free. Hinohara thanks her and quickly sets off. Kadoha has regained consciousness by now and thanks Isekai'd and Jinchai for saving her. Jinchai notices that his boss has taken a liking to Kadoha, so he slips away to give the 2 of them some privacy. Being alone in a room with a girl makes Isekai'd feel awkward, so he steps outside to find Jinchai. When he spots Hinohara standing near an unconscious Jinchai, Isekai'd wastes no time and lunges at him. Isekai'd swings his blade wildly, forcing Hinohara to draw his Hayagami to defend himself. Isekai'd demands to know what Hinohara's relationship with Kadoha is. Hinohara explains that she saved him many times since he arrived in this world and that she believes in him, so now it is his turn to protect Kadoha. He then demands that Isekai'd return her. Right at that moment, someone charges in, apparently coming to deal with Jinchai. Hinohara sees this and delivers a kick that knocks the attacker out cold. Jinchai comes to and tells Isekai'd that Hinohara stepped in to protect him when he was in danger, though the ring was taken by those thugs. Isekai'd entrusts Jinchai to Hinohara and runs off to reclaim the ring. Back in the room, while Kadoha tends to Jinchai's wounds, the boy recounts how he was kidnapped by a gang of bandits as a child, and that is where he met Isekai'd. For reasons unknown, both boys were later framed for a crime and thrown in here. The ring belonged to his mother, who left it for him before they were torn apart. Isekai'd always stood up to protect Jinchai, and because of that, they swore that one day they would escape this place together. Hinohara tries to think of a way to get them all out, but Jinchai advises him to abandon that idea. They cannot stand against Warden Tsutsuga because he is a show who wields a Hayagami. Just then, Isekai'd returns with Jinchai's ring. Like many other prisoners, Isekai'd also considers taking Hinohara's head to earn his freedom. Suddenly, the bell rings again. The hour of reckoning begins. The ones chosen today are Isekai'd and Hinohara. But when Jinchai sees his boss being swallowed, he shoves Hinohara aside and volunteers to take his place. Hinohara collapses to the ground, blaming himself because someone saved him, and yet he could do nothing in return. This time, Hinohara resolves to rescue them no matter what it takes. Hinohara and Kadoha follow the pipes from the inside to search for Jinchai and Isekai'd. Hinohara knows Warden Tsutsuga will be there, but if they want to escape this place, they will have to face him sooner or later. Hinohara also promises to protect Kadoha at all costs. Meanwhile, Isekai'd and Jinchai have been brought to the judgment chamber, bound tightly by ropes and left dangling in midair. A voice echoes through the room. It is Warden Tsutsuga, declaring he will pass judgment on the crimes of these 2. Hinohara and Kadoha reach a room with many passageways. Hinohara moves closer to assess the situation, but the ground beneath him suddenly gives way. Fortunately, Kadoha grabs his hand just in time. By coincidence, Osum happens to be here as well. When she hears they plan to confront Tsutsuga, Osum urges them to abandon that idea immediately because they could lose their lives. But when she sees Hinohara's determination, Osum returns Katoa's hairpin to him and tells him not to make that girl cry. On the other side, the ropes binding the two boys grow tighter by the second, becoming unbearable. Warden Tsutsuga sees their suffering and offers them a chance. He forces the two boys to fight each other before him. The winner will be declared innocent and set free. If they refuse, both will die. The ropes release Kanate and Jinchai, and their weapons are dropped down to them. Jinchai does not want to fight his boss, but Kanate tells him to shut up, grabs his weapon, and charges at Jinchai. Yet Jinchai does not strike back at all, only blocking Kanate's attacks. Hinohara and Katoha arrive at this moment. Seeing the two fighting, Hinohara leaps down and demands Tsutsuga stop them. Warden Tsutsuga will not allow anyone to interrupt his sacred judgment, so he launches countless ropes at Hinohara, but he manages to dodge them. Tsutsuga declares that everyone is the same, caring only about themselves, wanting only to save their own skin, and these two boys are no different. His words remind Hinohara of how his best friend Suguru betrayed him. In the decisive moment, Jinchai finally strikes back with a single blow, and it brings Kanate crashing down. It turns out Kanate did this on purpose so Jinchai would find the courage to fight back and earn his freedom. But Warden Tsutsuga then binds Jinchai once more, convicting him of murder. Unable to stand this injustice any longer, Hinohara draws his Hayagami and charges forward, slicing through the ropes that bind Jinchai. Enraged, Tsutsuga launches a massive ropes at Hinohara. He is flung by one of the pipes, but manages to drive his sword into a pipe just in time, keeping himself safe for the moment. The scene leaves the entire prison population in stunned disbelief. Kanagi is also on his way to Gatoya. Hinohara thinks this might be the end for him. But then he remembers Katoha's faith in him and the princess's words. He realizes he must live up to their expectations. With that, he shouts the incantation, "Hayagami, come forth," and a brilliant light erupts. Hinohara has successfully summoned the full power of the Hayagami, a surge so immense that even Kanagi senses it from afar. Hinohara is enveloped in a radiant aura that incinerates every last one of Tsutsuga's pipes. Tsutsuga attempts to strike Hinohara, but a single swing of the blade sends the pipe flying and reveals Tsutsuga's true form. The warden turns out to be an old man entangled in countless tentacle-like pipes that connect him directly to the prison. Hinohara steps forward and touches the sword embedded in Tsutsuga's chest, and the old man's memories flood into his mind. Long ago, Tsutsuga had placed his trust in a friend, only to be betrayed in the end. That friend pushed him into molten lava, and even hurled his own sword into his chest. From that moment on, Tsutsuga cursed his former friend, causing the sword in his chest to turn pitch black. A swarm of tentacles burst forth and impaled the traitor, then spread across the entire area. With his power, Tsutsuga vowed to imprison everyone within these walls for eternity. Returning to the present, Tsutsuga tells Hinohara that if he can understand his pain, then he should just end his life. Even the prisoners urge Hinohara to kill the old man and set them free. But instead, Hinohara chooses to pull the sword from Tsutsuga's chest to save him. He nearly gets consumed by the dark energy and dragged down a path of evil. Yet through sheer willpower and the pain of having been betrayed by those closest to him, Hinohara fights it off and successfully draws the sword out. Tsutsuga asks why Hinohara went so far. He replies that when he saw the old man's memories, his chest tightened because Tsutsuga was betrayed just like he was. But even so, Hinohara still wants to believe one more time. He still wants to forgive everyone. Moved by Hinohara's sincere words, Tsutsuga decides to merge with the Saniwa blade in Hinohara's hand and become part of his Hayagami. From this point on, the Kamui of Saniwa belongs to Hinohara. He can wield his Hayagami as usual or transform it into Tsutsuga's Saniwa whenever he chooses. Afterward, Hinohara uses the power of Saniwa to revive all those taken during the Hour of Reckoning. This power transforms Gatoya itself. Kanate quickly leads everyone to their old home, reasoning that if Gatoya is changing, that place might be changing too. Kanagi has also arrived at Gatoya by now and asks the inmates where Hinohara is. They tell him Tsutsuga has been defeated and the show is down below. Tsutsuga then appears before Kanagi and tells him that Hinohara is incredibly powerful. His Hayagami will become the Genesis blade that rules the world, and this revelation shocks Kanagi to his core. Back with Kanate, it turns out their old home is actually a boat. Now, Hinohara and everyone else will set course for the capital to deliver the Hayagami to the princess. Arata is exercising up in his room. His family thinks something is wrong with him, so he just goes along with whatever they say. The doctor says he has temporary amnesia, and Arata's younger sister assumes her brother has been bullied at school so much that it broke him. Right then, Arata comes downstairs and complains that he has not been able to go hunting lately, so his limbs have gone all stiff, which completely shocks the whole family. His mother quickly plays along, saying hunting really is great for one's health, and his father chimes in too, leaving the little sister with nothing to do but sigh in exasperation. Back with Hinohara's group, they have reached the island. Along the way, their boat was caught in strong winds and badly damaged, but fortunately the whole group managed to drag themselves ashore. Isekai'd and Jinchai collapse flat on the ground gasping for air, while Hinohara stands atop a rock breathing in the fresh air. Isekai'd then unfolds a map to locate the princess's capital. They are currently in Narutaki, very far from the capital at the center of the map. On top of that, reaching the capital from Narutaki means they will have to pass through Kanagi's territory. Hinohara is quite surprised to learn that Kanagi rules over an entire domain. Kotoha explains that Amatsuraki is divided into 12 separate territories aside from the capital, and each one is governed by one of the 12 Shinsho. Suddenly, Jinchai calls the group over and reports that there is campfire smoke in the distance. However, there are no villages in this area at all, so it could very well be Kanagi. The group carefully approaches to observe and discovers it is just ordinary people camping here. All of a sudden, Jinchai recognizes something and dashes down. To his surprise, these people are all from his home village. Just then, a woman peeks out from one of the tents and asks if the boy is Jinchai. Jinchai looks at her, calls out "mother" with tears in his eyes, and throws himself into her arms. Jinchai then introduces Isekai'd to his mother. The villagers explain that because the princess has fallen, they migrated to the borderlands before war could break out. Hinohara wonders whether any of the Shinsho could rule the country in the princess's place. Isekai'd says that is impossible. Only one person can rule a nation, either a princess or a king. Kotoha recounts that long ago the 12 Shinsho waged war against each other for the throne, and in the end the princess claimed it and seized control of the Kamui, bringing peace to the land. But now the princess has fallen and war is about to erupt once again. The villagers have reached the borderlands, a passage that opens only once a month. The villagers bid farewell to Hinohara and depart, and Jinchai will go with them. Jinchai wants to bring Isekai'd along, but Isekai'd cannot go, because it was his bandit gang that once attacked Jinchai's village and tore the boy and his mother apart. Isekai'd intends to stay behind alone, but Hinohara will not allow it. He insists that Isekai'd must come with him to the princess's capital. On their journey, the group encounters a massive creature called a Muru. In theory, Muru are harmless animals friendly to humans, but for some reason this one flies into a rage and charges at them, sending the whole group scrambling for their lives. Luckily, when it sees all three of them faceplant into the ground, the Muru lets them off. Suddenly, a girl emerges from the bushes clutching an egg. It is a Muru egg, and that appears to be why the creature was so angry. No sooner does she appear than the Muru shows up again. The whole group dives into the bushes to hide, leaving Isekai'd with the task of fighting the beast. Kotoha then asks the girl why she stole a Muru egg. The girl explains that Muru eggs are very nutritious and her mother is pregnant. So she wanted her mother to eat one and give birth to the strongest baby in the village. But the egg hatches right there, and then, much to the girl's dismay, at that moment, Isekai'd is brought back by a man who turns out to be the girl's master and Isekai'd's rescuer. Suddenly, Hinohara staggers and collapses. When he comes to, he finds himself inside the home of a man named Ohika, the same man who saved Isekai'd. It turns out Hinohara has come down with a fever, and Kotoha has been continuously healing him with her Unami powers. Isekai'd warns Hinohara that he is in serious trouble, because Ohika is a Zokusho, a sho who serves one of the 12 Shinsho. Ohika currently serves under Kanagi, so if he discovers that Hinohara is also a sho, things will get ugly. Just as Isekai'd finishes speaking, Ohika walks in. Ohika already knows Hinohara is a sho, but does not seem to be aware that he has been falsely accused. The Kamui of his Hayagami is a forge, so upon seeing how badly damaged Isekai'd's sword is, he picks it up and repairs it. Ohika shares that Kanagi has always treated him well. When he learned that Ohika's wife was expecting, Kanagi was even happier than Ohika himself. As for Kanagi, he is currently standing before the grave of a woman named Imisu, apparently a deceased wife or lover. Kanagi swears he will claim the throne for Amisu's sake. Just then, a soldier rushes in and tells Kanagi to hurry to Kijisu's residence. Kanagi arrives to find that everyone there has been slaughtered by Akachi. Back with Ohika, he no longer wishes to take part in any wars. He wants to live among his people, love his family, and pass on peacefully. Ohika also reveals that there is a way to claim the throne without bloodshed, if every sho willingly submits to one person and merges with that person's Heigami. Submission is when a sho transfers his soul and Heigami to another sho, just as Tsutsuga did before. A submitted soul does not vanish but lives on within the Heigami it joins. Ohika has also heard that Tsutsuga voluntarily submitted to another sho, one who wields a new Heigami and allegedly tried to kill the princess. According to Ohika, if Tsutsuga's submission was truly voluntary, then the claim that this sho is a traitor must be false, because Tsutsuga's Kamui, Saniwa, can see into the true nature of others. Suddenly, Ohika realizes that the sho's name is identical to Hinohara's, but before he can ask, a servant announces that a visitor has arrived. On Kanagi's end, nearly all of his vassals have been killed by Akachi, leaving him furious. Only one vassal remains, Ohika. Kanagi orders his soldiers to prepare the airship and head to Ohika's village at once. But Kanagi is one step too late, because Akachi has already arrived to speak with Ohika in person. Hinohara and his companions stand outside eavesdropping on the conversation. Akachi reveals to Ohika that Kanagi is the one behind the princess's assassination. He explains that Kanagi cast aside his loyalty to the princess in pursuit of the throne and is now hunting down a boy who was used as a pawn in the coup in order to silence him. Akachi then proposes that Ohika become his Zokusho instead. Despite Akachi exposing Kanagi's crimes, Ohika remains unwaveringly loyal to Kanagi. As a Zokusho, he is prepared to share in his master's sins. Seeing that persuasion has failed, Akachi draws his Heigami and summons countless spikes from the earth, even threatening Ohika's pregnant wife to pressure him. Akachi demands that Ohika submit to him, boasting that he has already absorbed 6 Heigami and is well on his way to claiming the throne. Left with no other choice, Ohika agrees to submit to Akachi in order to protect his wife, his family, and the people of his village. Akachi promises not to harm them, yet the moment Ohika submits, Akachi turns on his word and kills Ohika's wife right before his eyes. Hinohara cannot bear the sight of it. Akachi has also detected Hinohara's group. At that very moment, Kanagi arrives as well. He demands to know why Akachi killed them all, and Akachi simply replies that the war for the throne has begun. Enraged, Kanagi launches flames at Akachi, but Akachi raises a stone shield and blocks the fire. Kanagi leaps into the air and continues to rain fire down, but Akachi erects stone walls around himself and then summons a barrage of spikes that shoot up from beneath Kanagi's feet and his airship. Kanagi slashes the stone spikes away. Akachi bursts through his own wall and calls down a storm of jagged spikes straight at Kanagi. Kanagi uses his fire to deflect the onslaught, but Akachi seizes the opening and kicks him off the airship. They then rush at each other in a clash of blades, generating a shockwave so powerful that Hinohara's group is blown into the air and sent into freefall. Fortunately, Hinohara manages to summon his power in time to create a barrier, allowing the whole group to land safely. Kanagi continues to press Akachi for an explanation, but Akachi says nothing, which only fuels Kanagi's rage further. Akachi suddenly declares that Emisu loved Kanagi, and yet he killed her. While Kanagi reels in shock, Akachi exploits the opening and knocks the sword from his hand. Akachi then shows Kanagi the swords of every sho he has conquered, all of whom were Kanagi's own Zokusho. He goes on to announce that he will take Kanagi's Heigami as well. Refusing to yield, Kanagi charges at Akachi barehanded, but fists alone are no match for the Heigami in Akachi's grip. Akachi seizes Kanagi's arm and declares that from this day forward, Kanagi will know what it means to lose everything, a pain he will carry for the rest of his life. With that, Akachi conjures a torrent of stone whips that lash Kanagi's body. He intends to torture Kanagi until he submits. Unable to watch any longer, Hinohara shouts for Akachi to stop. Hinohara demands to know what meaning kingship holds when Akachi has slaughtered countless innocents, even an unborn child. Akachi counters that being a sho means you either submit or force others to submit. Having said his piece, Akachi departs. The little girl from before runs up and begs Kanagi to bring Ohika back. Kanagi tells her it is impossible, because once a sho has submitted and been absorbed by another Heigami, there is no way to return. Besides, Kanagi no longer has a Heigami himself, so there is nothing he can do. As Kanagi turns to leave, Hinohara stops him. He accuses Kanagi of being the one who assassinated the princess and sparked the war among the show, telling him he must take responsibility. Kanagi shoves Hinohara's hand away and asks what he could possibly know. He explains that they had always been kept under the princess's control, so how could he let such an opportunity slip away? He wanted to seize the throne so that Emisu could rest in peace. With that, he walks away. The girl turns to Hinohara and points out that Tsutsuga also submitted to him. She accuses him of being no different from Akachi, which angers Hinohara, and he storms off. Kanate chases after him, but Hinohara insists he never wanted to become king. Meanwhile, Arata happens to spot Suguru lurking outside his house while looking at a photo on his desk. Arata jumps down to check on him. Suguru hands over the game disc he had borrowed and quickly runs off. Back with Hinohara, he recalls the princess's wish. She wanted him to become king, yet he does not want to become someone like Akachi. Kotoha and Kanate come to comfort him. Hinohara blames himself for being unable to save Ohika. He wants to grow stronger to defeat Akachi, but if he does, he fears he will become just like him, forcing the weak to submit. Kanate argues that Hinohara is overthinking it. If he wants to grow stronger, he will have to hurt others, and if he does not have the stomach for it, he should abandon the idea of ruling this land altogether. But Hinohara says he can no longer run away, because the princess placed her trust in him, and he must become stronger to honor that trust. Hinohara wants to stop the war among the 12 Shinsho without forcing submission on anyone or submitting himself. Kotoha tells Hinohara that Tsutsuga did not submit because he lost. Hinohara never took his life. Rather, Tsutsuga willingly entrusted all of his power. Kotoha recalls a story that Arata's grandmother told her when she was young. The old woman spoke of a legendary Hayagami whose kamui was not made for offense, but served as a Genesis blade meant to bring peace to the world. It seems that Hinohara's Hayagami is that very legendary blade, Tsukuyo. The next day, Hinohara goes to see the little girl and promises her that he will do everything he can to save Ohika and bring him back. He is not certain, but perhaps there is still a way to reclaim a life that has been absorbed by a Hayagami. Hinohara now perhaps understands why the princess chose him to rule this land. As for Arata, he has finally decided to attend the school that Hinohara has been enrolled in. At the school, Arata meets Hinohara's old acquaintance, but since everyone sees Arata as Hinohara, the boy assumes Arata is just putting on an act to avoid him. Hinohara's mother then takes Arata to meet the teachers and enroll him, as it seems Arata insisted on attending school. While walking through the hallway, Arata is stopped by a group and called up to the rooftop for a talk. When Arata arrives on the rooftop, the boy from earlier is already waiting. He throws out a few threats, but Arata could not care less and climbs up onto the railing to admire the view. The boy angrily calls Arata down to talk, but Arata tells him he only came up because he was called. The group remarks that Arata has only been absent for a few days and has already picked up such a thuggish attitude. Arata also realizes these people are not friends of Hinohara, so he turns to leave. The boy calls him back, but Arata says he has nothing to say to gutless cowards who need a pack behind them. Feeling disrespected, the boy lunges to punch Arata, but Arata blocks the strike and lands a kick that sends him crashing into the railing. Before leaving, Arata warns him that if he ever dares to look down on Hinohara again, there will be consequences. Back with Hinohara's group, Kotoha slips and injures her foot while walking and cannot move on her own. Kanate offers to carry her on his back, but Kotoha declines and lets Hinohara support her instead. Meanwhile, Kanagi continues to shadow the group from a distance. Kotoha's foot has swollen up badly. The Anime clan cannot heal themselves, so Kanate volunteers to go gather medicinal herbs for her. Now that only the two of them are left in the shelter, Kotoha takes the chance to lean against Hinohara and open her heart to him. But Hinohara knows that her feelings are meant for Arata, not for him, so he makes up an excuse to step outside. On his way out, the necklace around Hinohara's neck suddenly glows and the gateway opens once more. Hinohara tells Arata that Kanagi's Hayagami has been taken by Akachi. Arata advises Hinohara to be careful since he too is a show, then asks about Kotoha. After a moment of hesitation, Hinohara asks Arata what he thinks of Kotoha. Arata says they have been together since childhood, so he probably sees her as a sister, a precious little sister he would do anything to protect. But since they are separated now, Arata asks Hinohara to look after Kotoha in his place. As for Kanate, the boy happens to stumble upon Emisu's grave. The area around it is full of medicinal herbs, so he bends down to gather some. Suddenly, countless pillars of fire erupt around him. Back with Arata, he mentions that he went to Hinohara's school today and even gave a certain nuisance a good kick. When Hinohara hears the name Katawaki, his face drains of color and the gateway slowly closes. As Hinohara walks away, Kannagi locks him in a hold from behind and demands he hand over the Hayagami. Suddenly, pillars of fire erupt all around them, just like where Isekai'd is. Kannagi explains that he has lost his Hayagami and can no longer control the flames, so the molten lava beneath this land occasionally surges up like this. Hinohara is forced to draw his Hayagami to fend off the fire. He asks Kannagi why he wants his Hayagami, reminding him that he is the one Tsukuyo chose. But Kannagi tells Hinohara to shut his mouth. That Hayagami is his only hope. He wants to use it to force Akachi into submission and reclaim Homoda, his own Hayagami. Kannagi then steps closer to Hinohara, ignoring Hinohara's threat to kill him if he moves. Kannagi knows Hinohara does not have it in him to kill, so he snatches the Hayagami from his hand and declares that a coward like him is unworthy of being chosen by Tsukuyo. Just as Kannagi is about to finish Hinohara off, Kataha arrives in time. But to everyone's shock, a flame erupts right where she stands and engulfs her. The sight triggers a memory in Kannagi of Emisu suffering the same fate. Despite Kataha begging Hinohara not to come in, he charges straight into the flames to shield her. But now neither of them can escape. After a moment of hesitation, Kannagi finally rushes in and rescues them both. Kannagi and Akachi simultaneously flash back to the past, to days when Kannagi trained alongside Emisu and Akachi. Up until the day Kanaga's home was burned down by slaves and everyone had to flee together. When they reached an escape route to the sea, Akachi volunteered to stay behind and hold off the slaves, telling Kannagi to take care of Emisu. Returning to the present, Kataha tries to heal Kannagi, but she lacks the strength because his wound is one of the heart. While delirious, Kannagi mistakes Kataha for Emisu. He remembers how he and Emisu once fled together on a boat. When they reached land, they were completely exhausted and were taken in by the local villagers. Kannagi and Emisu then lived a happy life in Ohika's village. But then Kannagi suddenly fell gravely ill and was bedridden for 5 straight days. Emisu went out to find medicinal herbs for him despite Ohika's warning that the lava was erupting. When Kannagi woke, he went searching for Emisu and found her engulfed in flames. He tried to save her, but the fire hurled him off a cliff and burned one of his shoulders. Emisu then dissolved into the flames right before Kannagi's eyes. Kannagi was consumed by hatred for the fire god Homoda and resolved to end his life right there. But at that very moment, Homoda appeared before him and chose Kannagi as its master. To Kannagi, Homoda is Emisu. He must reclaim it from Akachi no matter the cost. Hearing this, Hinohara proposes that Kannagi join him and together they will change the fate of this land. And this news quickly reaches the ears of the other Shinsho. The 6 Sho have now turned their attention to Arata and his Hayagami. They have learned that Tsukuyo, the Genesis blade that brings peace to the world, has awakened from its long slumber. The 6 Sho want to prevent Arata from reaching the capital and stop the princess from being revived. Hinohara is sparring with Isekai'd to sharpen his skills and build his strength. Meanwhile, Kannagi just lies around watching the 2 kids practice. He even makes them cook for him, claiming he only tagged along because Hinohara begged him to. Kataha returns with a bag of food, and Kannagi eyes Hinohara with a sharp gaze as the boy stores the Hayagami inside his body. As for Katawaki, after taking a kick to the face from Arata, he is so furious that he trashes everything in his room, and even stomps on a photo of himself and Hinohara from when they were still close. On Arata's end, he is finding it quite exhausting to live as Hinohara at school. Hinohara's sister tells Arata that he should talk to their mother more because she seems very worried about him. And at the very least he should call her Mom. Hinohara's mother spots the 2 of them and turns to look. Arata tries to say the word Mom, but he gets so flustered that what comes out instead is, "Let's eat muru tonight." Arata retreats to his room. He does not even have a family, let alone a mother, so he has no idea how to have that kind of conversation. That evening, Suguru is once again standing outside Hinohara's house. Arata spots him and jumps down to ask if he is Hinohara's friend. Suguru calls himself scum for saying that he and Hinohara were never friends. But he explains that if he had not said it, the bullies would have targeted him next, and because he was too weak, he had no choice. Arata then brings up Katawaki and asks Suguru if he knows where Katawaki lives. Meanwhile, Katawaki is on his way out when his father stops him. His father orders him back to his room to study, brings up Katawaki's past failures, and tells him that is exactly why he lost to Arata. He adds that if Katawaki does not have the guts to do anything, then at the very least he should obey his father. Katawaki snaps. He fires back, accusing his father of having an affair and telling him that if he wants to hide it from mom, he should be as slick about it as he is with his corruption. His father answers with a slap across the face and walks away. Back with Hinohara's group, they are walking through a forest when it begins to rain. Kannagi quickly recognizes that they have entered the territory of Yorinami, one of the 12 Shinsho and the master of the water Hayagami. Yorinami has the ability to control rain. They find shelter and Hinohara takes the chance to ask Kannagi for more information about the other Shinsho. Kannagi says the 12 Shinsho never cooperate with one another except during special ceremonies. The 6 Sho in particular are extremely bizarre. Even Kannagi has never seen their faces. He believes the 6 Sho are the ones Hinohara should avoid the most. What they do not realize is that they are already being watched by one of Yorinami's people. The 6 Sho have arrived at the Kando forest to investigate and now know that Hinohara comes from another world. They send a member named Haranawa into the forest. On the other side, Hinohara's sister discovers that Arata is not in his room and alerts their mother. Arata is out with Suguru searching for Katawaki's home. Katawaki is walking down the street when he overhears some guys mocking him for losing to Arata. Katawaki steps up to take on all 4 of them alone. But Arata appears and offers to fight on Katawaki's side to even the odds, scaring the group into backing off. Katawaki is furious, accusing Arata of always being calm and looking down on everyone like some kind of animal. Arata insists Hinohara is not that kind of person and asks Katawaki whether he has ever tried actually talking to him. But in their eyes, Arata is Hinohara. Before Arata can explain, Hinohara's mother shows up, walks over, and delivers a slap. She tells him that she and Nao have been worried sick and have been searching for him everywhere. Seeing this, Katawaki turns and walks away. As he goes, he remembers his own mother who abandoned him and the friends who betrayed him. Katawaki punches a wall in rage, blaming Hinohara for stealing his life. He swears he will kill Hinohara. At that very moment, the Sho named Haranawa completes the ritual to swap himself with Katawaki. Haranawa even transfers his consciousness into Katawaki, letting him know that Hinohara is in this world and sending him on the hunt. The other Sho then tell Katawaki everything Hinohara has done in this world, and they do not hesitate to twist the facts to fan the flames of Katawaki's hatred even further. They want Katawaki to become one of the 12 Shinsho and kill Hinohara with his own hands. Katawaki was chosen to cross into this world because of the deep-rooted hatred he harbors toward Hinohara. Katawaki does not fully grasp what they are saying, but he understands the gist. They want him to kill Hinohara. The 5 Sho then lead Katawaki to a chamber housing a sword they believe is a perfect match for him. To defeat Hinohara, he will need a Hayagami of his own. This is Urachi, the only Hayagami capable of destroying Tsukuyo and its wielder. Like Tsukuyo, it has been sealed away for ages under the Haim clan's protection. Katawaki steps forward and touches the blade. A surge of dark energy immediately erupts and engulfs him. Every Shinsho, even Kannagi, senses it instantly, and Hinohara's arm is suddenly seized by a sharp pain. And then, unlike every other person who tried before and was devoured by Urachi, the blade peers into Katawaki's hatred and accepts him as its master. After obtaining Urachi, Katawaki begins hunting Hinohara down. Hinohara's arm keeps aching, so he draws Tsukuyo to inspect it. Right at that moment, Katawaki finds them. Hinohara is bewildered, unable to understand how Katawaki could have reached this world, let alone become a Sho. Katawaki wastes no words and immediately draws his Hayagami, launching a direct attack at Hinohara. Fortunately, Hinohara manages to summon his power in time to shield the group. Katawaki relentlessly mocks Hinohara, calling him nothing but a gutless coward. No matter what anyone does to him, Hinohara just keeps his mouth shut and runs away. He even tells Hinohara that a worthless creature like him should just lie down and let Katawaki walk all over him. These words ignite the hatred within Hinohara. Tsukuyo loses its light, as if it is falling into the demon realm. Consumed by rage, Hinohara fires a blast of dark energy that sends both Katawaki and Urachi flying. Kannagi warns that if they do not stop Hinohara, Tsukuyo will fully become an Onigami. Kotoha rushes over and wraps her arms around Hinohara, telling him that he will not become a demon, that he is a better person than anyone. Her words pull Hinohara back to his senses, and Kotoha collapses afterward. Katawaki moves to attack again, but the 6 Sho recall him in order to fully awaken Orochi, since they had no idea Tsukuyo was also capable of falling to darkness. They board their airship and leave. Hinohara is so shaken that he drops his Hayagami. Kannagi seizes the opportunity to snatch it and runs off, with Kanate chasing after him. Hinohara then carries Kotoha to a nearby house and tends to her. Kotoha asks Hinohara who that person was and what he meant by coming to this world. When Kotoha reaches out to touch Hinohara, he instinctively pulls away. Kotoha tells him the real Arata would never flinch from her like that. She presses him with question after question until Hinohara finally confesses the truth. He is not Arata, her childhood friend. Hinohara never intended to deceive anyone, but in their eyes he looks exactly like the Arata of this world. And before he could do anything he had already become the Sho of Tsukuyo. This devastates Kotoha. She asks why Hinohara fell to the demon realm. Hinohara explains that Katawaki despises him. Every day at school, Katawaki and his gang would bully him, beat him, and force him into submission. Hinohara was fully capable of fighting back, but he chose not to use violence, and the pressure just kept building day after day. Hinohara then says goodbye to Kotoha and goes to stand alone in the rain. Kanate eventually catches up to Kannagi. He plans to ambush him from behind, but to his surprise, Kannagi says he will come back on his own. A short while later, Kannagi and Kanate find Hinohara sitting alone in the rain. Kannagi grabs him by the collar and tells him to take Tsukuyo back. Hinohara does not understand why Kannagi is doing this when he so desperately wants Tsukuyo. Kannagi says this is the first time he has ever held another person's Hayagami, and he finds Tsukuyo incredibly heavy, perhaps because of the burden of duty and responsibility it carries. The next morning, Hinohara resumes sparring with Kanate, and his skills and strength seem to have improved. Kannagi then asks to spar with Hinohara himself. Kannagi tells him that the one who awakened Orochi is one of the 6 Sho, so Katawaki likely arrived in this world, the same way Hinohara took Arata's place. Kannagi says he does not know what history lies between Hinohara and Katawaki, but the boy will come for him again soon. With that, Kannagi knocks the Hayagami from Hinohara's hand and sends it plummeting into the ravine below. He tells Hinohara that right now Tsukuyo is useless to him because he is hesitating, afraid of falling to darkness once more. Kannagi then tells Hinohara to retrieve Tsukuyo before sundown. If he fails, he should walk away for good. Hinohara descends into the forest below to search. After a while, he spots a wolf with Tsukuyo clenched in its jaws. The wolf sees him and bolts. Hinohara chases after it, and the scene takes him back to the days when he used to run alongside Katawaki. The beautiful moments when they were friends, Katawaki's joy at being in the same class as Hinohara, the thrill he felt running side by side. Katawaki once promised to always run beside Hinohara, saying let us give it everything we have. Back in the present, the wolf stares in bewilderment at Hinohara standing there panting. As for Katawaki, he still calls Hinohara a worthless creature, and still wants him dead. But the attendant Miyabi just laughs, suggesting that Katawaki actually cares about Hinohara a great deal. If he truly hated him, he would simply ignore him, yet Katawaki cannot stop thinking about him. Miyabi believes Katawaki actually wants to be Hinohara's friend. Enraged, Katawaki presses a blade to her throat. Katawaki recounts how during that time he was in poor form and could only enter one competition, so he invited Hinohara to run with him. Hinohara was the only person whose strengths Katawaki knew inside and out. They would run with everything they had, and even if Katawaki lost, he would still have gained what he truly wanted. In the end, Katawaki won, but he was furious because Hinohara had deliberately slowed down to let him win. Katawaki saw it as pity, and that is why he has hated Hinohara ever since. That evening, Hinohara finally returns with the sword, much to Kannagi's satisfaction. Hinohara has regained his confidence. He has conquered his fear, and now he wants to change Katawaki's heart. Hinohara promises Kotoha he will never fall to darkness again. Kotoha sheds tears of emotion, believing he will keep his word. Hinohara holds Kotoha tightly and thanks her for always being by his side, making her blush slightly. Kanate watches from the sideline, clearly displeased. Meanwhile, a Sho has been observing Hinohara. He is surprised to discover that within Hinohara lies both the demon and the heart. Yet Hinohara has managed to suppress the demon. This Sho believes that Hinohara might be the one to bring the true Yorinami back. Hinohara's group is now in the forest, admiring the breathtaking scenery. unaware that the blue butterfly fluttering nearby is actually Yorinami watching them. At the same time, Yorinami is punishing one of his Zokusho for failing to complete an assigned mission. Yorinami had ordered this Sho to seize control of the nation's salt supply. Yet the man could not even enter another Shinsho's territory. The elderly Sho tries to explain himself, but Yorinami twists his words, asking whether he means to say Yorinami should not be king. No one present dares to talk back. Yorinami warns that anyone who wishes to serve him must perform at their absolute best, because he has no use for incompetent Zokusho. Back with Hinohara's group, Kanagi is leading them toward Yorinami's stronghold, but Hinohara says he does not want to meet Yorinami just yet. He first wants to know what kind of person Yorinami is before facing him, so Hinohara suggests they visit Yorinami's Zokusho first. Kadoha and the rest agree with his plan. Kanate notices that Kadoha seems to be speaking more warmly with Hinohara now. Kanagi then leads the group to the most prosperous city in all of Amawakuni, Suzukura. Although they have never met, Kanagi knows that the Zokusho who governs this place is named Haruko. However, upon arriving, the group is stopped at the gates and denied entry because they do not have enough money. Just as the gatekeeper is about to check his ledger for work they could do, a man named Suhiro appears and offers to let them in. He is the same person who has been tailing the group. Kanagi warns Kanate not to use his real name here, as he is concealing his identity as one of the 12 Shinsho. Kadoha happens to notice a beautiful hairpin on display. Suhiro tells everyone they are free to shop with the money they earn. Men work at the stone quarry and women at the weaving workshop. You work before you eat. And so the men in the group head to the quarry. Kanate works until his back aches, while Kanagi just stands around flipping rocks like he is performing a circus act. Hinohara worries about how long it will take to meet the Zokusho at this rate and realizes the fastest route is through Suhiro. Hinohara is surprised to see even children being put to such heavy labor. Kadoha is assigned to do laundry. During a break, Hinohara goes to talk with Kadoha. She says she still is not used to speaking with him this way because he is not the Arata she knows. Kadoha turns as if to say something else to Hinohara, but then stops herself. Elsewhere, one of the 6 Sho visits Kadawaki and asks him to meet someone who went through something similar to what happened between him and Hinohara. The Sho shows Kadawaki a vision of a Shinsho among the 12 who has slaughtered countless people, and that person is none other than Akachi. That night, the moment Hinohara receives his wages, he rushes off to buy Kadoha the hairpin she admired earlier. While there, he runs into Suhiro and takes the opportunity to ask about Yorinami. Suhiro says that Yorinami was once a noble and merciful ruler with a far-reaching vision, but now he has become obsessed with seeking perfection in others and in himself. Suhiro adds that Yorinami once governed Suzukura, and was the one who turned it into the most prosperous city in Amawakuni. The next morning, while Hinohara and Kanate are working, they witness the boy from the day before being beaten by his boss for damaging a cart of stone. The boy insists it was not his fault. The boss even plans to dock the boy's past wages to cover the repair costs. Kanate finds the man despicable and charges at him, ready to throw a punch. But Suhiro arrives just in time and tells them to stop, warning that any more trouble will land them in an iron cage. The group then visits the boy's home, which looks utterly run down, a stark contrast to the splendor of the city. The boy's name is Ruka. Hinohara asks where his parents are, and Ruka says they died last year. His parents used to be fabric merchants on the main street, but then his father fell ill. All the workers quit, the family went bankrupt, and his mother passed away not long after. The boss who just hit him was once a foreman in his family's shop. Hinohara is furious, demanding to know how this city can call itself perfect. Kanate asks why Ruka does not just leave, and the boy explains that the toll to pass through the gates is 10 silver coins, far more than he has. Suhiro has been standing outside and has heard every word. A moment later, Kanagi steps out to speak with Suhiro. Even with Kanagi in disguise, Suhiro recognizes him as Lord Kanagi. Suhiro wonders why someone with Kanagi's temperament is traveling with Hinohara. Kanagi does not like beating around the bush, so Suhiro asks him directly whether he craves the throne or craves Hinohara's Heagami. Kanagi does not answer. He simply smiles and tells Suhiro not to try provoking him, then warns him that Hinohara is a tough one to crack. That evening, Kanate cooks a pot of soup for everyone. The scene reminds Hinohara of his own mother doing the same thing. He remembers a time when he was at his lowest and his mother made him a bowl of soup and encouraged him, bringing him to tears. Back in the present, Ruka and Hinohara taste Kanate's soup and praise it warmly. Ruka quietly wishes he could just disappear. Hinohara tells the boy he understands how he feels because he has been in that same place. But he tells Ruka that since he was born into this world, he must not end his own life. Hinohara says no one in this world is perfect. Suhiro, listening from outside, is struck by those words. Ruka wants to leave this place, so the whole group promises to help him, with Kadoha and even Kanagi lending their support. As for Kadawaki, he is talking with the attendant Miyabi when his airship is wrecked by Akachi. Kadawaki jumps down to confront Akachi. He tells him he watched his fight and proposes that Akachi join forces with them, since both of their enemies are now traveling together. Akachi has no interest in teaming up with someone like Kadawaki who cannot fight on his own, calling him nothing but dead weight. Kadawaki is determined to destroy Hinohara at any cost. But Akachi tells him he will never defeat Hinohara because Kadawaki has been deceived by the demons in his own eyes. With that, Akachi casually gouges out one of Kadawaki's eyes. That night, Hinohara's group attempts to sneak out of the city, but Suhiro has already seen through their plan. He reveals that Suhiro is merely an alias. His true name is Haruko, the top Sokusho of Lord Yoranami. Hinohara draws his Hayagami, ready to fight Haruko. He declares that this city is far from perfect, and that it treats its people with contempt. Haruko recalls how he once tried to attack Yoranami out of disgust for a life spent being used. Yet Yoranami did not kill him, and instead offered Haruko a position as his vassal. Back in the present, Haruko suddenly strikes at Hinohara, who barely manages to block in time. Haruko's kamui is money itself. Haruko says he has been watching Hinohara all along. He has seen him suffer, seen him fight, and seen him fall to the demon realm. Haruko tells him that Ruka does not need to leave this place because Haruko himself will change this city. He will challenge Lord Yoranami. Haruko asks Hinohara to bring back the Yoranami he once knew, believing that Hinohara is the one who can restore him to the person he used to be. The next day, Hinohara's group arrives before Yoranami's stronghold, Temyori. The place looks magnificent, though it still pales in comparison to Kanagi's capital. A brief look into Yoranami's past. When he was a child, he once made a bracelet for his mother, but she told him that if he had free time, he should be training in martial arts instead. In the present, Yoranami's mother is encased within a sphere of water, and he kneels before her, promising that if he obtains the Hayagami Tsukuyo, he will claim the throne and finally make her proud. Kanagi and Kanate head off to scout the area. Kadoha approaches Hinohara and asks whether he wants to return to his own world, since surely there are people there who care about him. Hinohara hesitates, but before he can answer, Kadoha walks away. The truth is he has never even thought about it. Hinohara only wants to live up to the princess's expectations. He believes that he can change by being in this world. Suddenly, Hinohara hears Kadoha scream. He rushes out and sees her being carried away inside a sphere of water. Kanagi says this is likely Yoranami's power at work. Hinohara immediately sprints toward Yoranami's stronghold, moving so fast that the other two cannot even keep up. The gates of Temyori are always left open, and there are no guards in sight, which makes Kanagi fear this is a trap Yoranami has laid. Hinohara arrives to find Kadoha bound tightly inside a sphere as water steadily rises around her. He tries to use his Hayagami to break her free, but it fails. Yoranami then appears and tells him it is useless because Hinohara's kamui is not powerful enough to shatter the sphere. The water inside keeps climbing higher. Yoranami gives Hinohara a choice, either submit to him or force him to submit, and only then will Kadoha be released. Yoranami will stop at nothing to achieve his goals in the most flawless manner possible, and he does everything solely to please his mother. He wants to make the mightiest Hayagami and its shobo before him. With that, Yoranami launches an attack at Hinohara, who barely manages to block it. Kanagi and Kanate try to use the opening to rescue Kadoha, but Yoranami sees right through their intentions. Yoranami's vassals want to join the fight, but Haruko holds them back because he wants Hinohara to be the one who restores Yoranami to who he once was. As for Kadawaki, even after losing an eye, he still wants to grow stronger. He is willing to sacrifice his eye if it means defeating Hinohara. Akachi recognizes Kadawaki's resolve and removes his own eye to replace the one he took from Kadawaki. Back with Hinohara, Yoranami rains attack after attack on him. Thanks to Haruko's warnings, Hinohara manages to dodge surprise strikes from behind. Yoranami angrily fires a shot at Haruko as a warning not to act out of line. In a moment of carelessness, Hinohara is caught by Yorinami's time reversal technique and sealed inside a water sphere. Right then, Kadawaki drops from the sky, crashing into the middle of the battle. Kadawaki wants to save Hinohara, but only because he wants to be the one to kill him. However, not only does Kadawaki fail to free Hinohara, he gets caught by the same technique. Yorinami's spell traps Hinohara in a dream, intending to make him submit within it. Hinohara dreams of his mother, and she repeatedly urges him to give up and swear his submission. But Hinohara still holds on to his willpower and refuses, so Yorinami pushes the spell even deeper. No matter how far Yorinami takes the illusion, Hinohara will not yield. Yorinami never expected that Hinohara would defy even his own mother. This is exactly what Kannagi predicted. Having reached this point, Yorinami abandons his pursuit of Tsukuyo altogether. He now wants to kill Hinohara, planning to regress him into a child and let him slowly fade away. Suddenly, Hinohara hears Kotowa's voice calling out to him. His willpower returns, and he tells the mother in his dream that he now has people he loves and cares for, so he refuses to give up. Even the mother conjured by Yorinami's spell this time sides with Hinohara. The Hayagami in his hand blazes with light, and its power simultaneously frees both Kotoha and himself. Hinohara tells Yorinami that conjuring the image of his mother cannot make him submit, because his real mother would never say such things, and he can now walk on his own. Yorinami flies into a rage and moves to attack, but his Hayagami has lost its will to fight. He suddenly remembers his mother inside the sphere and rushes to her side, only to find nothing but a set of wet, empty clothes. The truth is that Yorinami's mother died long ago. The figure inside the sphere was nothing more than a water puppet he created himself. Yorinami recalls how his mother always demanded perfection from him when he was young. He strove endlessly to become perfect, hoping she would finally accept him and praise him. Yet even after becoming one of the 12 Shinsho, his mother never changed. She died before she ever acknowledged him. Yorinami believed that if he became king, his late mother would finally recognize him. But now he has failed, unable to make Hinohara submit. Kannagi notices a box nearby and moves to open it. Yorinami stops him, explaining that it is a keepsake his mother left before she passed. She told him it was her treasure, her very life force. Yorinami has never opened it himself, wanting to wait until the day he could make his mother proud. Kotoha and Hinohara encourage Yorinami to open it, suggesting there might be a message from his mother inside. Yorinami opens the box and is stunned to find the bracelet he made for her so long ago. One of his vassals, someone who knew his mother well, tells Yorinami that she was never truly stern at heart. She was a gentle and loving woman. Yorinami had always been too kind and fragile as a child, so his mother was strict with him to help him grow strong enough to stand on his own. Yorinami clutches the bracelet to his chest and weeps. He admits that Haruko was right when he said Hinohara could pull him out of his darkness. Yorinami then asks Hinohara what he believes is the most precious thing in the world. Hinohara answers without hesitation: the bonds between people, just like the bond between Yorinami and his mother. The answer fills Yorinami with a deep sense of peace. But before the moment can last, Kadawaki surfaces from the water and shatters the calm. Kadawaki tells Hinohara that the only thing he should be concerned with is him. Kadawaki provokes Hinohara, trying to fill him with rage and drag him into the demon realm. But Hinohara has made up his mind. He will never become a demon again and instead will change Kadawaki's heart. His words, however, fall on completely deaf ears. Kadawaki raises Orochi toward Hinohara and demands he fight. Everyone present is stunned to see that Kadawaki's Orochi has been fully awakened. Hinohara draws Tsukuyo in response. Kadawaki charges and Hinohara blocks with Tsukuyo. The clash of the two blades sends a shockwave that blows everyone away. Hinohara retreats and Kadawaki pursues. The five Sho watch the battle from their airship, a clash between two Hayagami, the Celestial Light and the Abyss. As Hinohara runs, Kadawaki keeps firing thorns at him, sending him tumbling across the ground. Kotoha begs Kannagi and Yorinami to help, but Kannagi says this is Hinohara's fight and they should only watch, because interfering would do more harm than good. Kannate reassures Kotoha that Hinohara will absolutely not fall to darkness. He believes Hinohara will win and tells Kotoha she should believe that too. Kadawaki relentlessly attacks and pressures Hinohara to fight back, but Hinohara raises a barrier and seals himself inside. Kadawaki wants Hinohara to force him into submission, but Hinohara simply cannot bring himself to do it. Kannate shouts from outside that if Hinohara refuses to fight, he will never reach the princess. Hinohara remembers he must live up to the princess's expectations, yet he does not know how. Konoha calls out, encouraging Hinohara by telling him that everyone here believes he can defeat Kadawaki. But the truth is Kadawaki's Hayagami has grown overwhelmingly powerful, easily overpowering Hinohara's. Kadawaki's strength is about to swallow Hinohara whole. Kanate screams for Hinohara to launch an attack, but there is nothing he can do because Arachi's Kamui is simply too strong. Yorinami explains that since Tsukuyo has no offensive Kamui, it cannot do anything unless Arachi's Kamui is neutralized. Faced with this dire situation, Yorinami thanks the vassals who have always stood by him and announces his decision to submit to Hinohara. His vassals immediately protest, reminding him that he is their wise leader, one of the 12 Shinsho. But Yorinami has made up his mind. He will entrust everything to Hinohara, believing this act is nobler than becoming king and that it may finally make his mother proud. Hinohara begs Yorinami to stop because he does not want anyone to submit to him. But Kanagi tells Hinohara that when someone submits without being killed or coerced, it means they are entrusting their life to him, just as Tsutsuga did before. Kanagi urges Hinohara to carry their lives, their feelings, and their wishes forward, to meet the expectations of everyone who has placed their faith in him. With that, Yorinami begins chanting the incantation of submission. A brilliant light erupts as Yorinami transfers all of his power to Hinohara and merges into Tsukuyo. The surge is so immense that it obliterates Yorinami's stronghold in the blink of an eye. Even the princess sheds tears at the sight. Hinohara then asks Kadawaki why he is so determined to fight him. For a brief moment, Kadawaki remembers the days when he and Hinohara used to run together. He does not give a clear answer and simply says it is because he wants to take Hinohara down. With that, Kadawaki launches chains at Hinohara. Hinohara quickly summons Yorinami's power and commands the water to counter Kadawaki. In this moment, Kadawaki finally understands what Akachi meant when they met. There are things you can only see after you have lost them. Kadawaki looks up and shouts for Akachi to watch this fight through the eye he gave him. Kanagi is shocked to hear that Akachi gave Kadawaki one of his own eyes. Kadawaki wants to settle everything here and now. He charges at Hinohara once more. But this time Hinohara not only blocks the attack but sends Kadawaki flying. Hinohara declares that Kadawaki will never make him submit. The Hayagami in his hand blazes with light as massive stone pillars rise from beneath the water. The rain clears and sunlight breaks through. Hinohara recites his oath. For my friends, for the lives that have entrusted themselves to Tsukuyo, for all who have believed in me, and for the wish to turn the heavens and change the world. His Hayagami radiates a light called Sangsei Karan, forming angelic wings that envelop him. Kanagi remarks that Hinohara has fully awakened Tsukuyo, and now looks every bit like a king. Hinohara then pours everything he has into a single strike at Kadawaki, sending him flying and claiming victory. Hinohara feels his soul at perfect peace. Moments later, Konoha climbs up the cliff and throws her arms around him. Hinohara takes this chance to present the hairpin he bought for her, and Konoha is deeply moved. All of Yorinami's vassals then decide to submit to Hinohara as well. They want to offer their strength to protect him, and to walk alongside Yorinami once more. Hinohara then contacts Arata to warn him that Kadawaki has swapped places with one of the 6 Sho and crossed into his world. Arata also notices that Hinohara seems to have changed. He has grown much stronger. The 6 Sho will now prepare even more carefully to achieve their goals. Kanagi also swears to Amisu that he will reclaim Homura no matter the cost and force Akachi to submit to him. As for Akachi, he has gone to see Amisu, who by some means is still alive. Kadawaki returns safely after the battle. He is deeply satisfied and still longs to fight Hinohara again with everything he has. Hinohara gazes at Tsukuyo and vows to change the world, to change Kadawaki's heart, and to change himself. The princess is pleased and will be waiting for him.